The cabinet secretary and the ministry, including the registrar, ought to should not be the ones who are running the elections itself. Otherwise, we will lose our credibility and the independence of the institution. But it is for us to either get complaints or confirmations from participants or people of Kenya to find out whether the law is being complied with, whether the certain voters are actually in the register, whether certain organization providing the voters are in the register. That is our job. And to signify this position, I attempted, Mr. Chair, to invite, and in very good faith, the FKF Elections Board to just come and brief me on the progress they have made. Unfortunately, they also claimed independence and said, oh, you know, to avoid interference, they didn't want to come and see me. So they said they want to talk to the FIFA team to see if we can have a meeting together with the FIFA, and I'm still waiting. Be it as it may, for as long as they are going to conduct the elections independently, I have no interest in trying to micromanage what they are going to do. In any case, all the other federations are doing the elections independently. We also expected that the participants, the competitors, will help us see if the elections is free and fair by the manner in which they see, perceive, feel whether the process is fair. It is through their participation that we can get to know if there are complaints to us or to the tribunal. Then we can tell whether there is any. If everybody is happy, I'm happy. When I'm not getting complaints from also aspirants, I'm happy, and I look forward to 7th of December being the day of the elections, and finally has sorting out this issue of protracted leadership of FKF without proper elections. And hopefully from here, going forward, Mr. Chair, I just need to mention this. Once we review the Sports Act, which the process is ongoing, and it's brought to you here in Parliament, you debate and put in, re-energize the legal framework. I also hope that going forward we will not find ourselves in a situation where anybody will serve beyond any prescribed term limit, which is 2 term limits in this case, but also that those who will serve in any of the federations will do so transparently. Just as a way of addition to conclude, this is not about FKF alone. This is a journey we have embarked as a ministry. We want to, starting with the popular sport in the country, we want to make sure that all of them are compliant. Then we now revive the other sports that are very important, but in most cases are unknown to many Kenyans. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, yes, for the submission. And now open to members. Any comment or question? Mheshimiwa, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. The first is to note that we have not been served with the annex. I think it would be important that we get them. The 2 letters and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 annexes. But now, I just want to draw from my own experience with FKF. 10 years ago, I think we had been banned, so we decided to hold elections with the assistance of FIFA. And there's this clause that there should be no interference, they are protected, they're independent. All these things they hide behind. In that particular process, we had to get somebody from Tanzania, Tenga, to come and oversee the elections. And we did not even have, the government couldn't even finance. So we approached Radio Africa Nation. They gave us some money. We were able to facilitate. But then we got into headwinds because we wanted to clean the leadership of football. Football has the most corrupt Kenyans running it, with all due respect. So is FIFA. I mean, you've looked at the history of Sepp Blatter, and there are documentaries that have now come out, the way they bribe each other. There's a story, Kenya has received 1.2 billion in the last 7 years for women football. Nobody knows where that money is. They are very arrogant. You call them, they don't respect even processes. I'm happy there's a decision clearly stating that the Kenyan constitution is above the FIFA statutes and the rest of them. So my questions are as follows, because we really have to clean this thing. This elections board, how independent is it? Who appointed it? Have we, as a ministry, have you interrogated their independence in terms of their appointment, in terms of their funding, in terms of the qualifications of the people in that election board? We would like to get more information to be convinced that the elections board for this KFF is made up of independent people. Then, these people are elected by 92 delegates. There are only 92 people, I think, who participate in the elections, who are supposed to come from the clubs. Our experience 10 years ago was when we went to the register, we found the people running were the ones who had registered the clubs and the delegates. In other words, the aspirants had prepared the register of voters. It's the same thing to date. We need to know, who are these 92? How are they appointed? Have they been vetted? How independent are they? Because it is some of the candidates who have prepared this list. And we don't have to pretend, You can't be in an organization, you prepare the list, you walk out the next day, you say now you want to run. That is the truth. So there's conflict of interest, and I don't think our constitution, even our laws, allow that conflict of interest. That in an election that is supposed to be free, fair, transparent, verifiable, you can prepare the voter register and then walk out and contest on the basis of your own voter register. There's supposed to be an appeals body for these elections. The information I have is that it does not exist. And we are 1 month to election. So if anybody is aggrieved, there's no process of complaining about the appeals body. But most fundamentally, Honorable Minister, the candidates who are running, I see we are saying, okay, we need clearances from KRA, from the usual things. Do we have any qualification criteria of these people? Because everybody just wakes up, they say they want to run football because there's easy money, there's limited accountability. What is the experience that we need from anybody who wants to be a football administrator? Is there a statutory framework for these qualifications so that we don't allow this nonsense to continue going on? And the last one, we have said as a committee many times that we need the Registrar of Sports to be funded properly. It is only through the Registrar of Sports that we can clean the elections and clean the management of sports. If the registrar has no capacity to regulate who the clubs are, who the membership is, who the leadership is, completely, we are incapacitated, both as a government and even as the general public. So we need to really agree with the ministry how we are going to assist the Registrar of Sports, have the capacity to clean the registers of those who are coming to vote. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Basil.
Thank you, Chair. Although Honorable Karoli has asked actually some of the questions I had, I have a follow-up questions, and I draw to point E, bench 5, where the sport organization appoint an independent electoral panel. How shall this independent panel be appointed? And what are their qualifications? Number 2, who are the delegates and how are they identified or selected? Thank you.
You can respond.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. The fairness of the elections is determined by the oversighting body. So the IEBC of FKF is supposed to be independent. However, their constitution requires them to appoint their own panel, and that is done at the AGM. This AGM is expected to include all these members, including the last AGM where most of the aspirants, if not all, were participating either as members or observers. It is at that point where they elect and establish a team of elections panel. The current panel is chaired by a professor called Professor Olweny from the, I think, Daystar University. And they have a fairly professionally qualified team to be able to preside over the elections. I don't think it's a very complicated elections because at the end, when you are going to take the top leadership, it's 92 people. But of course, there is a process from grassroots that will determine at the end who is going to sit in terms of the elections of the 92 members. So to a great extent, you know, the law requires also in the sports registrar's regulations that, that it is actually the law itself in the registrar's regulations that says, I'm being reminded here by the registrar, that says that every body, every federation must have an independent electoral panel that is established by the body itself through a transparent process. And so we are confident that they have a proper panel. The question is whether that panel is following the law, you know, whether they are following the law. And for us to know whether they are following the law, it is important to get feedback from participants, particularly the aspirants. And that feedback usually comes to either to the office of the registrar or to the office of the CS, and then or a complaint to the sports tribunal or a court of law. We do not wish to have these elections delayed any further because of protracted court processes, but it's important, even as a CS, for me to use my good offices to pass the information to the relevant people who might be flouting the law, so that we don't create a situation where we have a protracted fight, because we really need to have the elections. We need to meet the FIFA standards in terms of the period of time that we need to have the elections, and we also do away with this term limit issue. These holders will be forced to serve beyond December this year. The qualification criteria for the candidates is defined also in the regulations and also in their own law. Membership to various clubs. You must be a member of a registered club in the country. That registered club is registered with FKF, but also as per the law, you must also be a member of a registered club or sports organization as per the registrar's regulations. However, the courts have further said that you can regulate the people who have voting, okay? But you must give every Kenyan a chance to participate and become a candidate in the FKF elections and all other federations if they meet a certain minimum qualifications. And I think for this purpose, we do not have a problem with the whether or not the people who are in office are meeting minimum qualifications, except of course the debate as to whether some of them should actually be running again. Notwithstanding, I see my senior Honorable Karoli is noting, he must be, have noted something about the participation of people running in different offices and so forth. Yeah, the registrar of sports is extremely important if we are going to have properly working sports federations in the country and oversight of sports federations. To be very honest and candid, the current registrar, the office of the current registrar is not properly resourced, both financially, human resource, and even legally in terms of the structure of the legal mechanisms that are in place to be able to take on as many of these federations as possible. Madam Registrar here has tried her best. She's in sunset years of her tenure. We have agreed with her that we need to work together to make sure that we strengthen the office of the registrar, and how to do so is to make sure, first of all, we get them an office. Physically, they don't have even office space, and we are working together to put in place budgetary provisions to make sure that this office is running. We depend on you, Mr. Chair, to make sure that we get at least some budgetary allocation. I know you stand with us, and because of the budget cuts around the country at the moment, this sector suffered a big blow You know, Mr. Chair, that for example, the sports academies have zero budget, zero to pay for their staff. Zero, I mean zero. You know, so that people don't think it's an exaggeration. You know, sometimes maybe you say 1 million is zero. No, zero. Meaning that they can't pay their staff. Recently, we had to loan money from one of the agencies to support them to pay their staff. The same way, I would like to help us establish a working office of the registrar so that we can get a proper working office. I'm currently working with the ministry. We are working together as a ministry to get a sitting space and then resource it with the computers and other equipment they require, but also human resources is extremely important. One person cannot do this. You cannot go all over the country registering, training them, informing them of compliance issues, and so forth. We need to have a sports registrar office that has even at least 10 people who have capacity to do the work that's supposed to be done. I know the reason why I wanted to meet the FKF Elections Board in the past is to see where they are situated. Many complaints by the aspirants is that they should not have been based in Kandanda House. I was willing to see what we can do, give them a space in Nyayo Stadium or even Kasarani, although Kasarani is undergoing massive renovations. Would have looked for a space for them which looks a bit more removed from where the current aspirants are also operating from, who are office holders. That complaint is still persisting, but I hope we can be able to address it, and I hope when they come to this committee, they will submit themselves to the desire to operate fairly independent. You know that the elections is going on well. There has been 2 debates now. Last night there was a debate, and there was also another debate earlier on the qualification suitability of the candidates, and which I really think that this will take these elections for this year at a notch higher. But the problem is, you can debate too many Kenyans and clap for you, then 92 men and women will sit to determine who becomes the president. So sometimes you may like this person and has a greater vision, but depending on other considerations, they may not have a chance to lead. Yeah, I think that's what I can say, Mr. Chair.
Honorable Mule.
Thank you, Waziri. Mine is on the sports registrar. And the sports registrar had raised several issues in regards to registration of county clubs, football associations. Nothing in that section 46 of the Sports Act gives powers to the sports registrar to register sports organization. Could the CS shed light on the possibility of revoking section 52, 53, and 54 of the Sports Act, which allows the inspection by the sports registrar and the intervention by the CS in the management of sports organization in the country, so that we can attain what Carol is asking. It is within the law. My brother, you are a lawyer. You appear before them, and then you agree, and then we get the law working. Because if we don't do that, we will still have to grapple with this issue to make sure that we get the KFF elections right. And I want to congratulate you for not interfering, because I'm a bit worried. Can cost us AFCON. And all the investment which has been done will go back to the train. I think this time round, we just need to be cautious and take the interests of the country beyond what we can deal with Makonde hapa na pale, but the interests of the country. So then the second one, it's off the hook, but you can mention about it. You can brief this committee on the issue of the sports academies, so that you can bring us to speed. We see our best, and be aware that the budget cycle has started again. I hope the agencies will not come to stop it. So So I think on this budget policy, budget making process, give us your priorities long time ago. I've been in this house CS, and the biggest problem that the institutions and the ministries completely go off is when you wait when the figures are in the floor of the house. Yet the process starts now. And if we don't have the policies from you, so I think, Chair, with all due respect, we definitely need to have a very probably a retreat from the ministry to look at the policies they want to guide the ministry in the next one financial year, so that these policies will be a guide to us when we are making the budget. And as I say, I pray the Gen Zs will not come to stop this, because we need the sports academies, we need the sports fraternity in the country to move forward. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Basil, and then Catherine.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, CS. In your response, you did not explicitly tell us the minimum qualifications. Remember, we talked about the embezzlement or mismanagement within the federations. So if the ministry will not come forward and set qualifications, that has to be followed by the candidates or by the federation. Then we risk having continuous mismanagement. And that's a simple reason that Kenya, for example, we have never been to the World Cup. You know, it all starts from the foundations. And that's why we need to get a clear response on how best we can have those minimum qualifications set, so that we can put the organization to the path of progress and avoid mismanagement. Thank you.
Catherine.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted just to thank the CS for saying that he will not fiddle in the coming elections that is slated to be held on 7th December. I was once a Secretary General of Leopards, and these sports politics can be murky, just in case you don't know. So it's good that as long as they've complied, let them do their thing. Two, I had a tournament at the county level in Busia. It was called Girls Can Kick Balls. And the FKF officials really came in nagging. They wanted some money, 40,000, then brought in the referees, the coaches, and every person they brought, again, I was to pay. It became so expensive that I became discouraged to want to bring on board girls to also play football. So I need to understand from the grassroots level, if we really want to tap talent from both gender, how is it done so that we don't feel demoralized from wanting to push that ahead? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. First, I think first of all, on the qualification, I emphasize that, of course, you must be a member of a registered sports organizations. The details now in terms of academic, professional, and so forth. It's okay. All these other provisions can be enhanced, and it is different from one federation to another because it is based on the provisions of their constitution as a federation. But there's a minimum qualifications. A registration is a very important part of that. Associations, as Mheshimiwa said, the courts have already pronounced themselves that you can be a member of the county sports association, but you do not qualify to vote in FKF elections unless you are affiliated to FKF. So you have to meet the qualification of affiliation to FKF for you to become part and parcel of the FKF family. And I think that is only right, because we can't force people also to be part of a federation. The challenge we also have is that FIFA can only recognize one federation at a time. So we are a bit constricted in the sense that people must meet first the minimum qualifications in terms of affiliations. Now, how do you get to make sure that affiliations are open, transparent, and accountable? I think it's important in our next review for the Sports Act to now go granular in terms of providing for making sure that the sports associations that have been, because you can be a member of a open, whatever public sports association, but it is easy for FKF, for example, to constrict certain people from joining. We can, in our review of the law, and as I said, we must give you in the first quarter of next year a draft law for the policy and the law, we can go granular to say this is what you should do. Federations must provide the qualifications. Those qualifications, as long as met by any Kenyan, can become a part and parcel of that federation, or any association can be part and parcel of that federation. We need also to make sure that the delegate system of FKF is the one that is reducing the number of people who are voting. If we had direct voting by the clubs directly for the president, I think the elections would be more interesting and enjoyable. What is now the biggest challenge, and I'm told you are meeting the FKF elections board, the biggest issue you must put them to task is who is the voter. It must be published. It must be known by everybody the voter is. Because the challenge we are having now is, and we have had in the past, is that you will go to a hall like this during the election day and you are told Honorable Karoli Amondi is a voter and you are meeting him for the first time. Or FKF has affiliated some organization that is not registered by the registrar. That level of transparency is needed. They must explain to you the transparent mechanisms they are put in place in making sure that I know the voter from the beginning, so that if I am campaigning, I know whom I am campaigning. Sometimes a friend of mine told me that he ran for elections. He wasted time talking to some people who did not manage to reach the voting area because of these gimmicks that people play down there. The other thing is to make sure that the FKF board, because you see the cabinet secretary has residual powers of stopping and banning the management and disbanding it and putting a management committee. That should be last position. That's why Honorable Mulle was saying that we should not lead to a situation where we jeopardize CHAN and AFCON. So it's important for this elections board to emphasize their independence to all of us. Not just to me, but I think Parliament can do better even than me, because I'm just one individual. As a committee, when they come here, you must make sure that they are accountable on how they are going to hold these elections transparently, and that they are going to tell the candidates exactly the list of the delegates in good time, so that the people who are going to be elected at the grassroots, who will come and represent the rest of the clubs to come and vote, must be known, and the process must be open, and so that must stop from manipulation. The other thing that had been asked was about term limit. Term limit issue now is sorted with, at least to a great extent, the fact that we had a very good chat with Nick, and he agreed that it was not possible for him to run for another term. However, we have a small legal problem, yeah, and Honorable Karoli here being my senior, you can think through it, and you, even as a committee, you can put this to the elections, FKF elections board. It's the question of whether, if you do not qualify as a president, you can qualify as a vice president. If you have exhausted your term limit as a president, can you then run as a vice president or deputy president? In other words, let me put it in. So you will answer later, but this is my thinking. Put it in black and white. Can President deputize anybody in 2027 elections? My answer is no. And the answer, and I have, again, for the sake of the country, because I get asked this question all of, for transparency, I have had a candid discussion with Nick I don't know where my phone is. I've had a candid discussion with, sorry, it's here. I've had a candid discussion with Nick, and I wanted to read the committee, the provisions of our constitution. Our own constitution says that the deputy president, each candidate in a presidential election shall nominate a person who is qualified for nomination for elections as a president as candidate for deputy president. You know, your qualification to become deputy president, you must have the qualification of being a president. Why is that so? Because in either cases of temporary incumbency or incapacity of the president, you are the president. So if the president dies or sick or removed from office, you automatically become the president. And if that situation happens, you flaunt the two-term limit. So in essence, our constitution of Kenya, in relation to the president of Kenya and the deputy president of Kenya, provides the same. The American constitution in the 12th Amendment says, no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of the president shall be eligible to that of vice president of the United States. So since I have had this conversation with my friend Nick, and I promised it during my vetting that I was going to have this conversation, I really think it will be good for the FKF Elections Board to make it in black and white to stop people from coming to my office, because I am not running the elections. I think it's important for the committee to publicly, the Elections Board publicly pronounce itself on this issue, so that we avoid a situation where they will do this to the end, then people either go to the tribunal or to the court or petition the cabinet secretary, and we start saying, okay, the team, should the candidate in this situation be able to run? I think, should the candidate running with Nick win, we should not have a situation where we again come and say, oh, this is being disbanded, there was no proper qualification. What I would put as a proviso is that a president can run for any other seat. I think the second or the third American president, after finishing for presidency, he ran for Senate, and he served in the Senate. So if President Uhuru Kenyatta today wanted to be an MCA or a senator or a governor, he can do that. But to run for deputy president is not possible, because it is the same qualification. So if Nick still is desirous to become a committee member of FKF or Secretary General or any other position, I think this is constitutionally, this is specific to the holding office of a vice president of term limits. And I think I owe the country a proper legal advice as a lawyer, not sitting just there to look at things it is, but also to avert a crisis where we will reach on 7th of December and say that whatever. And to be very fair, so that people don't look at me as coming here to interfere with elections, Nick has served fantastic, and he deserves to want to run for any other seat except for president and vice president. If he wants to do so, he has the freedom to do so. But for him to keep with our constitution, I think it's advisable that position is clear now. And I hope when the FKF Elections Board come here, they can clear that now, so that Kenyans do not live with that uncertainty going forward. And I'm happy that the board is being led by a professor, so it should not be very difficult for him to appreciate the legal position. Thank you, Chair.
Chair.
Maybe before we go ahead, there are a few members who entered as we are going on with our meeting. They can introduce themselves, starting from...
Chair, thank you very much. My name is Charles Nguna, commonly known as CNN, Member of Parliament, Mwingi West, and I'm a member of this sports committee. Chair, can I go on with my questions direct? Question number one.
No, Mheshimiwa, first hold.
Mheshimiwa, CNN seems to be having a very burning question. Waziri, karibu sana. I'm Honorable Naomi, County MP Marsabit and Deputy Chief Whip and a member of this committee. Sorry I delayed in another meeting. Thank you.
Honorable Mule, then Mheshimiwa CNN.
Thank you. And I think Waziri need to listen to me. Waziri, I hear you, and I really give tremendous respect on your law interpretation. And why we are in this situation is a lack of proper regulations, which the ministry must settle this, even if the election goes whichever way it goes in December, but settle this once and for all for the future. Why I'm saying this, I want to draw to you to the bad habit you might see, which probably is emanating from some very respected leaders globally. We have been having flip-flop of leadership in Russia. Putin is president, Putin is prime minister. Putin is prime minister, Putin is president. The same behavior in Israel. Netanyahu president, Netanyahu prime minister. And all this is created by an explicit regulation and qualifications. So, Waziri, we might all of us swallow our pride for two issues. I will not afford the country we lose Jack and we lose AFCON. But what do you do after that has happened? So, I believe when we are revising the Sports Act, these lacunas must be cleared once and for all. We might not have the latitude of time to clear them now. We might not have enough time to deal with the issues, because at the end of the day, if you block somebody, it goes back to court. The election is delayed. We are FIFA. Then the consequences are extreme. And that's why I told you, appear before them, we swallow our pride, they swallow a little pride, and then we move forward. Because I'm foreseeing a very dangerous situation, which probably it is not very clearly, because we are addressing the issue as if it's the presidency of the Republic of Kenya. This is a president of a federation. The issue of the delegates, 92 delegates, is something we can think about. Today, Americans will be determined by 270 college votes. If Trump gets the popular vote and Harris gets the college vote, who will be the president? Harris. It has happened to Clinton. It happened to Al Gore and Bush. Some of these international practice must inform ourselves on going forward. So if we don't want these 92 delegates, we must come up with a situation whereby the total number of funds and delegates in the clubs vote, but they carry the electoral vote to carry the 92. But it must be very clear. We are in this situation. We are leaders in this country today. Tomorrow, me and you probably will be enjoying our good evening walk around the city when we will be old. We need to clear this mess now when we're in power.
CNN.
Yes, Chair, thank you very much, and I apologize for coming late. I was supposed to chair another committee, and I had to. But my question to Waziri is, number one, you did think this matters before court, and as a committee chair,
ask to make sure that they are in keeping with the law and they help us to get good elections, because, as I said, the residual power of the minister to still disband whatever team which has been established if the law has not been followed is there. But we should not go there. That is extreme end. We shouldn't be desiring even or imagining to do so. I request that find proper mechanisms of ensuring that we have free and fair elections. In the law now, FKF constitution, by now they should have amended their constitution to make sure that the people who vote should be clubs. All over the world, it's clubs who vote for the elections. But now we have something in FKF constitution called branches. Those branches are not registered clubs. So we need, after these elections, to try to push first in the revision of the law to make it mandatory, and then now ask FKF to revise the law so that the clubs are the ones who are participating in up to what level and which delegate or who. That's why we would have about 500 clubs now coming to vote for this presidential election. we increase the level of legitimacy. For avoidance of doubts, I have no problem with the 92 delegates. It's not a unique system. It happens all over the world. It happens even in other elections. For as long as the law permits delegate system, there should not be issue. We should just move it now in future towards audience, like honorable members have suggested here in terms of the clubs. And then we have the federations who have complied with the financial information. Maybe I supply that one later. I don't have the information right now as to how many of them, but ensuring that for us activities, they must be compliant. And you know that compliance of submission and the status. So if you find a club that the registrar has cleared, it's because they have complied on everything, including financial. Now, to ask a federation, can you give us your sponsors? You'll find them being very evasive, and the good news is that you can receive the financial position, but who will audit for you? Who is going to help you audit of the executive and the government towards this institution, except the investigative agencies? So there is a lacuna here that we really need to revise in the law to see what will be the clear responsibilities of government to federations. I think that we have an opportunity because we are the major sponsors of all national federation country or representation. By virtue of that, having that pass as a country and as a government through sport. My people in the sports fund that don't give money to an association, come and account for only the ones we gave them, but there's other money they raise elsewhere. We do not have private sector financing our sports in the country, and our football leagues are not doing the way they should be. We are among the lowest paying league in the continent. It's because the private sector does not even trust how the federation are run. The level of transparency that is there, nobody wants to throw their money chasing after bad money. And therefore, I agree with Honorable Naomi that when we bring the law, let's see how we can expand the areas of accountability. But as a ministry, that's what we are trying to do now. For you to get registered, you must submit your accounts, but also for us to finance your activities, you must account to us for the money we've given to you. On the sports academies, I know that the committee here was aware that we had advertised the country, and the committee had been apprised. There was a conversation. Important to have standardized. By that time, we had standardized the sports academies to a cost of about 50 million shillings. There was a further conversation that for the sports academies to have greater value, we needed 2 or so halls in the academy itself for both indoor games and for meetings, for community meetings and so forth. So that enhanced the cost of constructing the academies by another 5 million shillings, and so necessitated a review that was done together by Sports Kenya, Academy of Sports, Sports Kenya, and Kenya School of TV. Template. Members of National Assembly, you appreciate the template also we have had for TTIs across the country. So it's something like the TTIs, so that when you build a sports academy across the country, they are almost similar in structure. Of the process of was about $500 million. So, but now we will even be able to advertise. By another 3 months, we should advertise another 30, so that progressively we should move in the next 3 years, 4, 5, across the country. Thank you, Chair. And I think this thing of the academies, by the time I come back,
Yes, it's on record on this committee, actually on the room opposite, whereby the PS and the CS Sports Academy, Sports Fund, CEO Sports Fund, Mr. Noor, appeared to us, and it was not an easy meeting because they responded to that. You need to know that. They responded to that meeting or not. And you have just said something which has shocked me. You want to tell me the PS and Noor lied to us. You are telling. Now, who do we author now next? Do we author you, or do we recall them and off them again? Because PS, I'll be honest with you. This issue was very emotive, and I wish Honorable Mary Amasa was here. You will not like to be on that seat. Thank God she's not. Because she was in position to defend the president, having been called a liar because of the same issue. And I think we would not get to that route, me and you. But I want you to put us to very clear notice that we are not going to have another circus. And I will tell you why. CNN was in this committee last parliament. Last parliament. And the issue of Sports Academy was there. Down the line, he has been elected again, and no single Sports Academy. Can you guarantee me I will not come back again next parliament and we are discussing the same issue? And I want to take your word, the third cancellation will be the last, but from Tuesday we proceed. Because I believe that business, please. And if you need to consult, we can allow you to have tea, consult, and come back before we oath you. Then we can look for a lawyer to oath you so that we can have a very clear direction.
Mr. Chair, that which ends well, what did they say? They say, what ends well is better than what end well. Let's put it in that manner. The good news is that the effort of CNN and the team and the people who came before us has improved the Sports Academy. In fact, you as a committee, you started with 200 million, once whatever, all that. These designs have improved. another 30. Perhaps, our hope, of course, as you know, in the 5 years or so, we should have 290. But we must start from areas that don't have stadia, that don't have what, like we've already chosen as a take it from each here. Let me give you my word. I wanted to put it actually in the national circulated newspaper this week, but because of the austerity measures of government, I wanted to put it on Thursday. But because of the austerity measures of government, we just agreed, we put it on Tuesday next week in the My Government as an advert. Otherwise, it's ready, everything is ready.
Thank you, Waziri. I'll hand over the microphone to Catherine, then Honorable Mondi, and then CNN, Bishop will close.
Thank you, Chair. Bwana Waziri, I just want you to know that anyone who is working in this government and comes here, gives us promises, and deep down their hearts, they know they are lying or buying time. Being a new person in this office, I think we should go with what the PS said and the CEO, or we will impeach them, because we cannot sit here. We go to our villages very excited with all the chiefs and village elders clapping for us. Me being a new member of parliament, how do I go back to the people and say, the new CS came in with the new terms? Because that is what I'm seeing. It is very unfortunate that we are still discussing about this. I thought we were going to be told from this date and this date, things are rolling out. Not cancellations, postponement, new discussions. It's sitting bad. Even as you sit there, I was telling my colleague, the CS is talking too much. Because already I'm seeing it is not progressive. We are now on pause. And yet we had kid play. We were so excited, all of us here. So I don't know what exactly you've been saying. Maybe I'm not understanding, because I just blocked. From listening, I blocked my mind. Can somebody talk a language I understand here? Mambo iko karibu kuharibika hapo.
Mr. Chair, I want to assure Honorable Catherine, running a government is not an easy thing, especially when it comes to money. You need to be, and this is money. This is not about anything else, it's about money. And as a country, we have to adopt mechanisms that can give us greater value at once. You have 7 acres. You have other government programs that you want to implement. You can construct a sports academy alone for 50 million. But you can add a social hall, indoor arena for playing maybe boxing and table tennis and other issues in the same place. It is worth waiting for another 2 weeks to have this value at once and maximize the resource that is there at once than to hurry up and have white elephants in the country. It's better when it's something good. And I don't think I'm speaking a language that is strange. This language is of truth. You know, there is no other way we can say. Let's just do this. We advertise the academies. I know I was not appearing before this committee on this issue, and I didn't have to answer today. I would have easily told the chair, Mr. Chair, I was not prepared for this question when I come back and so forth. But because I know the answer, there was no need for me to say, okay, I'll go back and consult. You will see the advert on Tuesday.
Chair, on light note,
Let's have the advert on Tuesday. And Mr. Chair, let's thank God that as a country and parliament, we have turned around. Because this conversation of securitization of a fund, we started when we got to office with road maintenance levy. Had we done that at that point in time, we would have moved certain steps. But because of the economic situation when we entered in, we needed fast to stabilize. I'm sure even my colleague in the road sector now has the confidence when he appears before you as members of parliament that in a few weeks or months, once we get the securitized road maintenance levy, we'll deal with the pending bills on the other side. This is a sports academy that should be in place, cannot take 6 months to build. If we are building stadia in 3 months, 6 months, it should not take long. Once we advertise and with the guarantee of the resources, we should be able to complete them once. And I don't think it is fair to say the PS and Mr. Nu lied. They did not. What they did was they knew that in the rest, by the end of the year, all of them will proceed. But you put the money as you progress. The first quarter 500, the next quarter 500, and I know. Since I'm not speaking in camera, they were saying that confidently because they knew in the 500. Million they have, we ask to make sure that they are in keeping with the law and they help us to get good elections because, as I said, the residual power of the minister to still disband whatever team which has been established if the law has not been